Hello, my rainbows of all kinds, and welcome to a segment we're doing on the channel called Mini My Reviews. This is the show where I'll be reviewing stuff that Jay isn't interested in covering on our podcast, but I am. For our 14th episode, we're going to be talking about the My Hero Academia movies. This is basically a part 2 to my other Mini My review that I did about the anime series. If you want to know more about the anime series for My Hero Academia, please go check it out on the playlist. Now, there are 4 movies for this series. I'll be talking about them individually and then together as a whole. The first movie we're going to be talking about is My Hero Academia 2 Heroes. This movie is the first of the My Hero Academia movies. It was released in 2018 and it takes place after Season 2/Season 3 of the anime series. The movie focuses on All Might and Deku going to a hero expo on Island, which is a tech island where scientists focus on improving quirks to better society, to see an old friend of All Might's. Now, production-wise, it looks the same as the actual show. Its budget was $12 million and earned between $27.5 and $33.4 million worldwide. Honestly, this movie was amazing. One of my favorite things about this movie was getting to know more of Deku and All Might together as student and teacher. This plot was briefly explored upon at the end of one of the episodes, and we didn't get to see anything from it for a bit. This movie is where we do see what happened during the trip, since it was never explored or expanded upon in the actual show. Each movie serves as a standalone movie, but it does expand the universe in some way. I like that we get to find out about what happened on their trip. Another thing I loved about this movie was getting to see some never-before-seen characters that weren't in the show. One of them being Melissa Shield, who is David Shield's daughter. She was honestly one of the highlights of this movie. I loved her character development and her bonding with Deku over both of them being quirkless. I loved her energy and how smart she is. Her admiration for her dad and All Might's is also incredible. She's also proved to handle herself even without a quirk, along with seeing her and her dad's perspective on the world through their scientific eyes. Overall, this felt more like a longer TV show slash special than an actual movie. It was 90 minutes, so it was made up of almost exactly 5 episodes in length. Despite that, this is a pretty solid movie, and I recommend it if you're more of a standalone adventure with this kind of cast of characters. I give the My Hero Academia 2 Heroes movie 4 Maris out of 5. The next movie we're going to be talking about is My Hero Academia Heroes Rising. This is the second of the My Hero movies. It was released in 2019 and it takes place after Season 4. The movie focuses on Deku's class, which is Class 1A, doing a safety work program for their class on the remote island of Naboo. Their goal is to be the heroes on the island because of their island's previous heroes retiring and helping the islanders with their daily tasks and keeping them safe. While on the island, Deku meets 2 kids, Maharo and Katsuma, and him and Bakugo end up bonding with them. When a villain group led by a man named Nine wants to achieve their dream of creating a strong quirk society and cure his terminal illness with Katsuma's healing quirk, it's up to Deku and the rest of Class 1A to protect these 2 siblings and save Naboo Island. Sorry, I'm just getting over being sick, so if I have to pause for a minute, that's why. Now, production-wise, this movie looks a lot better than 2 Heroes. I will definitely say this for the other 3 movies. Besides the first movie mentioning their budget, all 3 of the other movies basically kept their initial budget hidden. I haven't been able to find anything about any of the other 3 movies' budgets except for the first one. So basically for the other 3 movies, to make it a little bit easier on myself, the budgets for the other 3 movies are unknown. However, for this movie specifically, it did make between $14 million in the US and $20 million plus worldwide. But yeah, compared to the first movie, this one didn't make as much as the first one from what I could find. I could be wrong, but from what I was able to find, it didn't make as much. Now, this movie was so awesome. One of my favorite things about this movie was honestly the bonding between Deku, Bakugo, Maharo, and Katsuma. Getting to see these 2 aspiring heroes bonding with each other and inspiring both Maharo and Katsuma to be better people and one day future heroes I also enjoy learning about both of the kids' quirks and their backstories as well. Maharu having an illusion quirk was so fun to watch in action, along with finding out about Katsuma's healing quirk and how it works was so fascinating. It wasn't as in-depth as Melissa's from the first movie, but it was still good. Now, when I was watching this movie, I couldn't find an English dub for it along with the third movie. I don't know why. I think both of them are locked onto Crunchyroll. But for some reason, I was not able to find them. So both the second movie and the third movie, I had to watch in sub. Just so you guys understand. Because I watched the entire anime in dub. So I'm not used to hearing their sub voice actors. But it was interesting to hear all their voices, though. I still prefer the dub over the sub, at least for this show. But I was able to follow along with everything pretty well. Another thing I loved about this movie was the animation and the effects used in this movie. Getting to see Bakugo using One For All was also surprising and shocking to see. Fun fact, this movie was originally going to be the ending for the show. I personally feel like that wouldn't have been the best ending. I'm so glad that they didn't end it here. It wouldn't have made Deku's arcs in the future more impactful and more worthwhile, in my opinion. I'm also glad Bakugo didn't end up getting One For All completely. It was cool to see him using the power. However, I'm happy it didn't happen. Seeing All Might's face when Deku was telling him about what happened at the end of the movie was such a wonderful moment between them. This movie was also interesting because it was just the students fighting and taking care of things. No teachers or supervision compared to the first movie. Now that can be a deal breaker for the plot and stuff. It was interesting getting to see Class A on their 2 feet so early, but it also felt like it was a little too early for them to have that happen, in my opinion. It's just a small nitpick for me, but not a bad one. Overall, this movie was really good. I personally think the first movie is a lot better in a lot of ways. However, this movie looked more like an actual movie compared to a TV special quality that the first movie gave. So that's something I will give it props for. Also, this movie was an hour and 44 minutes, so a bit longer than the first one, but the pacing wasn't a concern, which was good. It was still a good movie regardless of that, but if I had to choose, I'd watch the first one over this one. I highly recommend this movie if you want to see how Class A works on their own without their teachers or authority figures there. If you'd rather see them having guidance in their roles, then this movie isn't for you. I'm going to give My Hero Academia Heroes Rising 3.5 Marios out of 5. The third movie we're going to be talking about is My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission. This is the third movie of the My Hero Academia movies. It was released in 2021 and takes place after Season 5. The movie focuses on Humorize, a villain organization whose life mission is to wipe out all quirks from across the globe, seeing them as a deadly disease affecting the world population. Class 1A is scattered across the globe to help out the pro-heroes fight against this terrorist group. When Deku ends up getting framed for a bombing caused by Humorize, it's up to him, Roddy Soul, a resident of Ortheo, who ends up getting tangled in the mess, Bakugo and Todoroki, to stop the Humorize organization from erasing all quirks. Like I said for the other one, production-wise, budget info is also unknown, but the animation for this one is just as good as the second movie. This movie made 4.6 million, actually 46.9 million worldwide, and is currently the highest rated movie in the franchise since its release. Honestly, I can't blame them. I loved this movie so much. Getting to see the plot mainly focused on Deku, Roddy, Bakugo, and Todoroki was so fun to explore. Roddy being a newcomer to the series, he was so engaging to the plot, and I absolutely loved him as a character. One of the things I loved about this movie was Roddy and his bond with Deku throughout the movie. It took a bit for Roddy to warm up to him, but by the midpoint of the movie, these two became the bestest of friends. I also enjoyed finding out about Roddy's quirk, which was his companion Pino, a little bird that represents his heart and feelings. Pino has such an adorable design. I absolutely loved them as well. Another thing I loved about this movie was seeing all the fight scenes between the four of them and the villains. All of them were so well animated and entertaining to watch. My favorites was Deku's fight with the main villain while Roddy was doing what he could to save the world. The plot was pretty simple, but it made up for it with the awesome moments between Deku and Roddy, in my opinion. I've really been enjoying seeing all the new characters introduced in these movies. Let's hope the last movie has a memorable one as well. Overall, this movie was just as good as the first one and even better than the second one. What it lacks in plot makes up for with amazing animation and memorable moments. I don't really have any complaints for it. I'm going to give My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission 4 Maris out of 5. Now, the last movie we're going to cover is My Hero Academia You're Next. This is the final My Hero Academia movie, which released in 2024, taking place around Season 7. The movie focuses on Deku and his class taking on a villain who goes by Dark Might, a man trying to impersonate All Might, and the Galini family who is a mafia family. After kidnapping a girl named Anna who has a quirk that can amplify other quirks she is compatible with, it's up to her friend Julio, Deku, and the rest of Class 1A to save her from Dark Might and the Mafia's clutches. Now, production-wise, this one definitely went above and beyond with the animation, but like I said with the other one, I couldn't really find too many details about budget and stuff and how much it made. I don't know why they kept a lot of these hidden, to be honest with you, but I did the best I could to find everything, but unfortunately, I couldn't find how much this one made overall. Besides that, this was such a fantastic movie. I absolutely enjoyed it so much. One of my favorite things about the movie was the plot. Getting to see Deku trying to help Julio save Anna from the bad guys was so exciting to see. I will admit, though, I did wish we got to see more interactions between Anna and Julio. At least a few more flashbacks than what we got. We only got a few scenes in general with them. Other than that, that's really my only complaint about this movie. Julio is such a great character, and I'm sad we didn't get to learn more about him over the course of the movie, besides being there to neutralize Anna's quirk. Another thing I liked about this movie was everyone fighting for All Might and how much he impacted them. Even though All Might is barely in the movie, everyone showed how much they care about All Might and how much impact he has as a character in the series. The fight scenes in this movie were absolutely incredible. We all got some mafia shooting scenes as well, which was a bit of a twist from the usual format of the movies and the show. Overall, this movie is good in some areas, but better in other areas. It is a great adventure before the final arc of the series, but it doesn't have too much of an impact to me. At least compared to the final arc of the show, but I already talked about that in the last video. I'm going to give My Hero Academia You're Next 3.5 Maris out of 5. Now I'm going to talk about all the movies as a whole. Like I said before, each of the movies are standalone adventures but do connect to the plot in some way. The best movies, in my opinion, is the first, the third, and then the second and the fourth are kind of tied for third, in my opinion. All the movies are really great, and I enjoyed seeing these standalone adventures. Also, all the standalone movie characters were also so good to see as well. My personal favorites were Melissa and Roddy, then Maharu and Katsuma, with Anna and Julio being my least favorites. I would recommend these movies if you are into seeing more standalone adventures or if you're just getting into My Hero Academia. However, I do also think you should have basic knowledge of the series before getting into it so you aren't confused. The movies as a whole, I'm going to give between 3.5 Maris and 4 Maris out of 5. Anyway, that's my mini Mari review for the My Hero Academia movies. Hope y'all enjoy it, and we'll see you next time. Bye, my rainbows.